With well over 1,000 live streams aired in my career as an expert live streamer, I have learned quite a few things that have helped me to elevate what I'm doing and really make my live streams effective. So today let's break down my routine as a live streamer that you can copy to make sure that you are perfectly prepared before, during, and after you go on air. First things first, I always make sure that I know what topic I'm going to be discussing on my live stream, and I make sure I'm aware if I'm going to be having guests. If I do have guests, I'm going to need to reach out to them, and I've got videos on how to do this, plus scripts that you can actually use so you don't even have to deal with how to connect with them. I've got those linked down below for you. And I always make sure I know what my topic is, what my title is going to be. So I do my research to see what's going to be highly effective and clickable for me. And then I make sure that I'm ready with my SEO so that I can schedule my live stream and be prepared to go live. Once I have my title and topic picked out, I'm going to need to schedule my live stream. And I like to do this several days to a week in advance. Now, in some platforms you can schedule longer out, and in some platforms you actually can't schedule too much. But if you have the ability to schedule, I usually recommend a couple of days in advance. You don't want to go too far out because it could get buried inside of your feed. So I will schedule for usually 1 to 2 to maybe 3 days in advance, and I will use a program like BeLive or Restream or Melon, all of which I have free trials of down below and some extra fun goodies for you. And I schedule this so that I can have all of my stuff ready to go. The thumbnail, the SEO, the effective titles, everything ready and up on whatever platform I'm going to be live streaming on. So I just set the date, I set the location. If I'm multicasting, I'm simulcasting to multiple locations. I'm setting all of those things and getting them prepared and ready to go, so I do not have to stress about it the day of. I love scheduling it because then I can then use that link to kick it out in my marketing to drive people from my newsletter or from my other social platforms to that live stream. So I set that up a day to maybe 3 days in advance so that I'm ready and prepared to go and I don't have to stress over that. And PS, if you need help with your thumbnails, I actually have a really great video and a training for you linked down below. Then on the day of the live stream, the very first thing I'm going to be doing is setting up my agenda points. Now, I could do this in advance. I could do this a couple of days before, especially if I'm planning out what I'm doing. So this might be a little bit different for you, but for me, I really find it important for myself to do my agenda notes the day of. In fact, within an hour or two of doing my live stream. That's because I like to plan out everything I'm going to say to be able to show it on screen so that people can follow along. But this helps to get me in the correct mindset. So I do not have to then practice. I do not have to stress myself out going over my notes. I am doing them right then and there before I go on air so that it's ready in a timely fashion, so I'm not stressing over it. So this is not a 5-minute before I go on air thing. This is an hour before I go on air. And I'm listing all of those points. They're going to be fresh in my mind and ready to go. I'm going to be able to organize my thoughts while I'm preparing. So I could set this up beforehand. I could set it up in a note and then copy and paste it in, which will help me to remember some of these things. But I typically like to create it a little bit before I live stream so that it's fresh in my mind. I know exactly what I'm going to be saying and in that order. And then while I'm live, I can put them up on screen for people to see. Now, once I have my agenda points ready, my next step is to prepare myself physically for the live stream. If it's a morning live stream, that's going to mean I'm doing my makeup and I'm doing my hair and I'm doing my wardrobe. If it is an afternoon or an evening live stream, I'm probably already ready for the day, so I'm just swapping out my outfit for whatever I need. And during this time that I am getting ready, whether it is fixing my hair, doing my makeup, picking out my wardrobe, whatever, I'm leveraging this time to stay in the mindset of my live stream. And I'm using this specifically to prepare my opening. I'm looking at my hook lines to get people paying attention and drag them into the conversation. So I have already gone over all the bullet points I'm talking about as I was creating my agenda points. Now I am solely and specifically focused on my opening lines. How am I introducing this? Because remember, when you live stream, there's a lot of things you have to deal with, especially if you're producing this episode. You're going to be dealing with hitting the buttons. For me, I know I have to count because my live stream doesn't pick up right away and it sometimes cuts off the intro to what I'm saying. And so I actually have to count to 10 in my head or count to 10 on my fingers to make sure that I am not getting cut off and I'm distracted. I'm not thinking of my opening lines. So if I have them prepared beforehand and I say them over and over and over again, almost memorizing them or having that really so ingrained that I can say them in whatever way I need to, I can tweak it as I go, I do not have to stress about hooking them in from the very beginning because I'm already comfortable with it. I already know what I'm going to say. So as I'm straightening my hair, or as I'm doing my makeup, or as I am grabbing my wardrobe and I'm accessorizing with my jewelry, I am saying those opening lines over and over again in several different ways. I'm using it as an opportunity to practice and to test. So I don't want to just pick one line and say it over and over. I want to try it in different ways to see what feels most comfortable, or what is going to be the most active or engaging or interactive for people. I am looking for a way to get them involved and get them excited about the conversation, and so I'm practicing saying it in different ways out loud. I am saying this so that I can hear myself speak and see what feels really comfortable for me. So I'm getting ready for my live stream while I'm practicing my intro, and if I do it enough times, it is going to be stuck in my head in whatever format I like it in, so that when I get to the point of hitting the start button and dealing with all the buttons and counting to make sure that I'm not getting cut off and all of those things, or dealing with guests or whatever it happens to be, I am already prepared and it's ingrained in my memory, so it becomes a reaction to what I'm doing. I can say it because it's muscle memory. And so I'm practicing, I am trying things out, and I'm seeing what's going to fit best so that I can then jump in without having to worry about what I'm going to say. Once I'm ready to go, I've got my hair, my makeup, and my wardrobe done, and I feel comfortable with the intro of my live stream. I then have to set up my room and get everything ready. So I am going to make sure I have water next to me, because as I'm talking on a live stream, for me, I'm either the sole speaker, I am speaking the entire time, or I'm hosting, which typically means I'm going to have to speak a lot, but also to smile a lot and not talk, which really dries out your mouth. So I always make sure I've got water next to me, especially if my mouth gets dry, or if I need a second, if I need to catch my breath in between saying things. People will forgive you for taking a drink of water if you need to pause. This is going to be great if you choke, or let's say you have an allergic reaction to something in the room and you start sniffling or coughing or whatever. Water is going to be a lifesaver. So for me, I always have water in a closed container. It might be a water bottle like this. It could be a tumbler with a closed lid on it. It is never an open mug or glass, because that runs the risk of spilling it on your technology. Now, there was a time when I used open glasses and I kept it far away. I had a separate table outside of my desk. It was nowhere near my technology, and I could reach over and pick it up. And on occasion, very rare occasion, I think it happened maybe once or twice during my entire career of years and years and years, I did spill water on myself. I would spill it on the desk, never on the technology, thank goodness, but you run the risk of doing that with an open lid container. So you always want to make sure it has some type of lid that you can screw on or close over so that it's not going to spill everywhere. And that also reduces the risk of spilling it on your outfit, which would definitely show in your live stream. And if you're not like me with exceptionally long hair to hide those water stains, you will be noticed on your live stream. So I always get my water and I set it next to me, either on a separate table so that nothing can come in contact with it, or if it's a closed container, I'll set it off to the side on my desk, but far enough away that I'm not going to bump into it when I'm reaching to use my Wacom Intuos Pro editing tablet, my mouse to move things, or if I'm reaching for something else, or if I'm talking with my hands. So I always keep it out of reach, but where I can get it easily should I need it. Once I have my water ready to go, I am then moving on to setting up my lights. And so I will work with a number of ring lights or soft boxes. I've even got some umbrella lights, and if I have the ability to use natural light, I'll use that as well. I've got lots of videos on video lighting, so I will link those down below for you so you can check them out to see what's going to be the best fit for you. I've got some discounts and things that you can grab as well, so all of that will be linked down below for you. And I set up my lights so that I'm ready to go. Now, for me, I actually rigged up a lot of my lights to an extension cord where I just have to hit a button, a single button, and it will turn on all of my light sources. So I do not have to worry about getting up and moving things around and whatever. So I know exactly where my lights belong, where I need them to be so that they're strong enough to illuminate me, and I have the ability to turn them on with a single click. So if I have to move them across the room because I was using them elsewhere, I'm going to set those up, I'm going to make sure they're in the correct order and the correct placement, and then I'm going to make sure I turn that on so I'm ready to go and I don't have to worry about that later on closer to the live stream. Once my room is set up, I'm actually going to pull up my studio so that I can do my broadcasting, and I'm going to make sure everything is ready to go. Now, if you are like me and you set up your agenda points right before you got ready for your live stream, it's probably ready to go, but you're going to want to check over all of your buttons and make sure that everything is good and clear and ready to move forward. Which brings me to my pro tip, because I've learned this the hard way again and again and again, and I don't want you to have to suffer like I have. So let me share a little secret with you that makes sure that when I go live, I do not have tech issues. I have learned the hard way that if you do not clear your cache or your browser data before you live stream, it could pick up some of the information from previous live streams, and it could potentially damage what you're doing. This could mean getting kicked off air or going live and not having your camera shown or your audio heard. There's a lot of things that I personally have experienced and others have experienced, and it's all boiled down to we did not clear our cache before we went live. So on Google, all you have to do on a Chrome browser is go up to those little dots and go down to more tools, and then you can clear your data from there. Once you have cleared your data, you are then going to do a hard refresh of the page. So you can either click the button to refresh, or on a Mac, it's I think Command R, that will clear and refresh that page entirely. You can check out the keyboard shortcuts for Windows if you would like, and you want to make sure that you've cleared the browsing data and then hard refresh the page. That's going to strip everything down. You may need to re-sign into the live streaming platform, and that's totally fine. Just go ahead and do that. It will not have lost your data from your scheduled posts, and you just want to make sure everything is clear and fresh. Now, another pro tip, if you have been on your computer for a while that day, maybe you have done other live streams or you've done other work for the last couple of hours, it might be wise, it might be smart to shut your computer down entirely and restart it, then clear your browsing data and hard refresh the page. That is something that you can try or take into consideration. If your computer's laggy at all, I highly recommend doing this so that you don't have a bunch of extra browsers and things going on that will slow down your live stream. So you want to make sure that you have cleared all of that data, refresh the page, refresh the computer if you needed to, and that will make sure that you are having the best, most clear stream you possibly could have when you go live. Now, once I'm positive that my room is clear and ready to go, I like to go over my notes. So I look over those agenda points, I look over any other notes that I've left for myself, and I refresh myself one more time before I'm taking the next steps to go on air and actually have these conversations. So I went over them in my agenda, I prepared my introduction while I was getting ready and dressed for the live stream, and now I'm just going over the notes one final time to make sure that I am totally and completely in the correct mindset for jumping into my live stream. And this can be a short process, or it could be a longer process. If I have been completely ready for my live stream and I have nothing else to do, I might stare at my notes for a little bit longer, but I like to refresh at least once just to glance over it before I am going to take those next steps of going live. While I'm sitting in my chair with my studio ready to go, my lights on, fully prepared for my live stream, I do like to pop onto my social media and share links, give calls to action, remind people that I am about to go live. I'll jump on Instagram stories, I will post a TikTok or a reel if I need to, I will remind them on Facebook, or maybe I'll even post something on my YouTube community page so that they know I'm about to go on air. I'm using every opportunity possible to tell people, hey, now is the time, join me now. And even if they don't see it right now, they'll be able to see it later and catch that replay. So I always like to actively remind people in the moment, and as a bonus, I know that there are certain people who really like to show up to my live streams live. And these are people that I chat with on a frequent basis or every once in a while, and I will actually go into their DMs and I'll send them a message saying 5 minutes until the live stream, or I'm about to go live on this platform, on this channel, we're going to talk about this topic, whatever. It can be a very short little message, or it could be a longer message, but I like to remind a few key people. And if they've asked me to remind them, I'll try to remind them every single time. And if this is something that's new, I haven't really reached out to them before, I might not do it every single time. I'll remind them every once in a while, or if I think it's something they're going to particularly like, I will reach out to them. This is community outreach. This is building up conversation and community inside of what you have built for yourself on your platforms. So I highly recommend sliding into those DMs and reminding people you're about to go live, especially if it's something that's going to resonate with them. So make it a special occasion, make it a special thing, and then if people want reminders in the future, you can actually tell them to tell you to remind them. It's a really cool way of building up that conversation with them, and then you can check in with them after the fact and build that dialogue. There's so many opportunities here. So I always post on social in a big broad sense that I'm about to go live. I share that link wherever possible, and I slide into those DMs and remind people to come join me while I'm on air, which also then triggers them to tell their friends to come join me too. So it's a win-win, win-win, win-win-win all the way around. Now at this point, if I have guests coming on my show, they are going to be joining me inside of my studio. Once they get there, I actually have a system for running them through what's going on. So I'll always say hello, I'll greet them, ask how they are. If we're waiting for multiple guests, we'll chat for a minute, and then once all of my guests are in the room, I give them the rundown of the event. So I start from the beginning and I explain how the system works. I tell them that they're not, or they are, going to be on screen with me the entire time. I'll tell them if they're going to be down in the studio, how we're going to rotate through people. I run them through the buttons. I tell them what they need to know about chatting with me privately so other people can't see it, just the people who are in the studio. I tell them how they should or should not be looking at the public comments coming in. I run them through the different buttons if they need to level up their resolution or lower it down. I show them how to mute themselves and tell them what to do if they're having trouble with the technology, how to refresh the page and come back in. So I take away all the fear, I remove all the doubts about the buttons so that they know exactly what they're doing and don't have to struggle with this. Then we go through the process of the show. So I actually break down the run through. This is the introduction, this is how it works, this is when you're going to be on stage, this is when you're going to be off stage, this is what we're talking about, and here are some of the questions I'm going to be asking you so that they know exactly what we're going to be doing and the order. This of course is going to be fluid and flexible as we're doing things, but it really helps to ground them and take away any fear so that they're incredibly comfortable and can just come on and have that conversation with you while you're on air. Now I also remind them right before we go on air, if we have a specific order of guests coming on so they know when they're going to be shown up on screen, and I let them know how the going live and the off-air process works. So in most platforms, it does like a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 countdown, and then I have to wait and I have to count in my head to how long before it's not going to cut me off. So I explain it's going to be a weird little gap of time where I'm sitting and smiling at the camera. I have not frozen, but be aware that we're about to go live. And I remind them at the end, you're gonna be on screen at the very end. Please just smile and look pretty at the camera until I tell you we're off air. It's not going to tell you. So please don't ask me if we're on air, we're probably still on air. If I do not tell you we're off air, we're not off air. So I always walk them through this process so they know exactly what to expect. Then afterwards, I make sure I give them the wrap of everything that they need as well. So when I have guests on, I prepare them and go through all the buttons, all the technology, and then the flow of the show so that we're ready to go. Of course, the next step is going to be the live stream where we jump on, we have the conversations, we give the calls to action, and we give really good, valuable content to our people. And we've got lots and lots of videos on how to do this and how to up-level this here on the Livestream Action platform. So make sure that you're hitting the subscribe and notification bell because I've got tons of resources on this. And oh yeah, Livestream Action Plan is all about handing you done with you live stream, so all you have to do is fill in a couple of blanks and go live. So I got you covered for this one. I'm going to link a bunch of stuff down below for you, but now we have to take the next steps after we finish our live stream. Once we're fully off air, I'm then going to do my post-show checks and my SEO checks. So this involves me wrapping up with any guests, telling them where the link is going to be, that they can use it on their website, they can send it out in their newsletter, they can promote it on their socials. If they need a clip from it where they sounded really good, they can ask me for that so that they can put it out on their social medias and mark it on our behalf. And I have the final conversations with them. I then make sure that it really has posted to where I was live streaming to and make sure there weren't any tech issues, because remember, we mentioned that I've experienced some before and so have my students where they did not see any of the video, it was just the audio, or where there was no audio, or where it glitched, or where we got kicked off and didn't know it. So I always make sure that we double check right after in case I need to hide something from YouTube, or I hide something from Facebook, or I need to go talk to the developmental team to find out what happened and how to fix that. So I always make sure that I'm doing my post checks and make sure that I've got all the SEO settings correct, because remember, you're live streaming somewhere like YouTube and you're monetized, you can monetize the live stream replays, and it does not automatically have it as monetized even though the rest of your videos are. You have to go in and manually hit that button. So I always check on all the platforms I stream to make sure the audio's good, the visuals are good, I did not get cut off and there were not any issues with it, and this is a great opportunity to take stock of when the video picked up. So remember, I count to 10 with my fingers before I go live to make sure I don't get cut off. So I check, is there a gap of time? Or did it cut off any of my words? Is my counting time still correct? Because sometimes that changes. So I always go in and I check the platforms that I have live streamed on to make sure everything's good to go and make sure all of my SEO is in order. Now the next step is an important one. It's all about downloading my footage. So wherever I happen to stream to, it will give me the ability to download those videos, and usually the streaming platforms like Restream and BeLive do allow you to grab that video content after the fact. Always download this and keep it somewhere on your external hard drives so that you have access to it later on should something horrible happen and your video get deleted or a platform shuts down or whatever it happens to be, so that you don't lose that footage. So I always make sure I save a copy. I change the title on it because it has like a bunch of numbers and letters and it's just weird, so that I can always find it inside of my system. So I label it with the title of that video from whatever the stream was, and I tuck that away where I need it so that I'm good to go and have it for future use. Once I've got that squared away, I am ready to go. Everything is posted correctly and I can move forward and move on to my next live stream. Now, if it is going to be close, I am going to then maybe even jump in and schedule my next live stream so that it's ready to go. I can link it up to those replays and I'm ready to move forward. But it's really easy for me to be able to go through this system and go through this process to prepare myself. By using this routine, I am getting myself into the mindset at the right time, so I'm not doing it before, wasting a bunch of time and then having to redo it closer to my live stream. I love being able to leverage everything I'm doing so that I'm not wasting time and I can make the most of my live stream while feeling incredibly prepared to go on air and speak, and to get my guests ready to speak if that's applicable to what I'm doing with that particular live stream. Now, if you liked this routine, go ahead and give me a follow down below, because I'm giving you more tips and tricks on how you can level up your live streaming, because here at Livestream Action Plan, I'm literally handing you the live streams you should be doing, and all you've got to do is fill in some blanks and do them, and I'm answering your questions right now. So if you have a question about any part of this routine or about live streaming in general, go ahead and drop it down below. We're talking live streaming on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitch, on TikTok, on Instagram, on all the platforms that I want to get your questions answered. So now's the time. Drop your questions down below and I'll see you in the next video as we continue to level up your live streaming to create community and conversation and build profit inside of your business.